So guys, let's get started. So my name's Adam. I'm the owner of the Tint Academy. We're here for the flat glass. Now again, we're doing these once a week. Next week, we're going to do a business one because again, it's Christmas time right now. We're heading into January. There's talks of recession. There's talks of slowdowns. People losing their jobs. It's getting a little bit slower out there. So next week, we're going to do a business one of how to get a lot more referrals and how to make you busy. Now, if you're in this webinar, you should be able to see my screen, Tint Academy Canada, with a flat glass. So whether you've done our course in the past or you've kind of just been on an email list or social media, thank you for being here today. Now, again, like we talked about before, we are running these once a week. And every week we're going to be running a different topic and something new that's going on. This week's going to be flat glass. That's the number one question that we get is what's the difference between flat glass, which is commercial and residential, versus automotive. Now, one of the ways that we're doing this for these webinars, that it's totally free. We want to give you guys content, give you guys information, but there's a little sponsorship that we have to do. So it's actually going to be sponsored by this company called Auto Gift Cards. It's a really cool method. Now you guys can check out Auto Gift Cards by clicking on the top. It's a plastic gift card that's branded around your business. Now in my business, we use these quite extensively and it generates about 10 to 12 customers per week. Your plastic gift cards, they look like credit cards. They're not loaded, but you can use these tons of different ways by generating referrals, thank you gifts. This time of year, we use our auto gift cards that we mail them out to all our past customers to bring them back in, or they can hand it off to something else. This week, we've got 12 customers just with these gift cards. They start around $500 for the gift cards. Click on the link, learn more about them. If you're slow, it's a great investment to make. And we're going to talk a little bit more about these marketing strategies and how to use these cards in a different webinar. But if it's something that you're looking at, you want to get busier, you're tired of Kijiji, you're tired of Facebook Marketplace, and you want to do more kind of grassroots, guerrilla-based marketing, this is a better way to do it. You can hand these gift cards out to local shops, local businesses, charities, all that kind of stuff, and it's going to drive people to your business. Whether you're doing the tinting, detailing, wrapping, it kind of works across all those broads. So click on the link above and you can kind of learn more about that as well. So let's move on into this webinar here. So today we're talking all about residential and commercial window tinting. We want to dive in more about the science and what to look out for. The actual tinting portion of flat glass is extremely much, I'm trying to find a proper word here, is really easy compared to automotive. But there's a lot more science. With automotive film, you have carbon, you have ceramic, you have dyed. Depending on your customer, you can use one of the three. You're not going to break any windows, you're not going to affect any windows. With automotive, it takes a lot more skill to prep, to shrink, and to clean, and to install those windows. With flat glass, with residential, there's a lot more science, a lot more stuff you have to do, but the installation part is a lot easier. We're not going to talk too much about the actual installation portion of it. A lot of guys I see in this webinar right now have actually done our automotive window tinting course. So you guys already have the skills to do this. Now I just want to give you the knowledge that you can actually go out there, quote jobs, and do all that kind of stuff. So a couple of things we're going to touch up on today is why people get their windows tinted in their home, how you can quote for it, and a couple of things that you can look out for. Now, a lot of people, even in our circles, that it's fairly new in Canada. In the States, in Britain, this is a very popular thing that a lot of guys do is tinting their home windows. Drapes, blinds are old school. People don't want that anymore. They want natural light. They want to have open space. They want to have open concept, but they want to still have that privacy, security, and the UV not affecting their home. We're based in the Niagara region, do a lot of work up into Toronto and the GTA. A lot of our customers, specifically in the GTA, do this to protect their homes and create privacy, but they still have an open concept look. With drapes, with blinds, it really encloses the look of the house and it makes it feel more smaller, tighter. So this is a big way. So a lot of reasons why even our customers, when we do quotes, they think this is a weird concept, they think it's something weird, but once we educate them on the benefits of commercial flat glass tinting and why it's important for them, we will get that customer, and it's a lot more of a moneymaker compared to automotive film. So First thing is, it is improves security of your home. So glass windows are among the most valuable areas in your business. Moreover, when broken, they are costly to replace. Installing window film on the exterior can make it difficult for criminals and vandals to break in or cause damage. Right now, we're seeing a 33% increase in home invasions and home break-ins. That's right from the Hamilton Police page. So it's actually increased by 33% this year. Like we talked about, we're going into that recession. It's a lot of a harder time for people. We're going to see this increase a lot more. Tinting prevents potential burglars from peering inside your offices or your home. If they get a clear view, they might identify what to steal. They do this by scoping the building out, security measures to make it easier to break into your business. Now, this refers to commercial quite a bit, but it also reflects into residential and into home. Again, a lot of cars, there's less break-ins with cars that have tinted windows. You just can't see what's going on in the vehicle. Homes work the exact same way. Number two, is it creates a more decorative and better look. So if you want to use a mirror film, a decorative film, or just a ceramic-based film on your windows, it gives the house a more modern look that you cannot get by just plain glass. Next, it creates a comfortable environment for your friends, for your family members, and for your employees. Now, when we have those big windows, all new modern homes have giant windows. They can see right through the house. It lets on in a lot of those harmful UV rays, which heats up the home and makes it very uncomfortable. We do a ton of window tinting for homes as well, for especially in the summertime and heading into spring. People with children that want them to sleep in past 6:30, 7 o'clock when the sun is rising. So it's going to create more comfort. Just like automotive film as well, there is UV protection. Now, with residential flat glass film, there's a lot higher ceramic components into it that reflects the UV rays from the sun. So it's going to let in that natural light that's also going to reflect the sun. Now, we'll talk about this in a few more slides, but with residential window tint, it does have VLT, which is visual light transmission. It will allow that sunlight in. So if you go darker film, say we do a 5%, just like our automotive, it's only going to let 5% of the sunlight through. Typically, in my business, I use a mirror film that has a 15% VLT, just like car windows. So 15% of the sunlight comes through. So it still gives it natural light without all that UV. The odd customer wants it blacked out, which we go more to the 5% VLT. So just like limo tint, which is 5%, we go to 5% residential film. So it's a mirror component that offers a reflective, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but with 5% of that visual light transmission. Next, it increases privacy, just like we talked about before with security. A lot of new modern homes have big giant windows, especially if you look at those new builds. If you're in Brantford, if you're in Caledonia, if you're in Toronto, you can see directly through the house. If I stand in front of somebody's house, I can see directly in. The number one thing that we get with our customers that have new homes is when they have Ubers, skip the dishes, delivery drivers, they don't want them seeing in their home. They don't want seeing what's going on for whatever reason. They don't really ask. But again, you can see right directly through the house. And they want to create that privacy that you're not driving down the street and seeing directly into the home. Next, it's long lasting. So this tint's going to last 10 to 15 years. It's going to be a good look for that 10 to 15 year mark. It defines and upgrades the appearance of the building. So I personally think it makes the building look or the house look a lot more modern. It gives it a modern, sleek look that increases the value of the home. Next, it saves money on energy bills. So with the company that we use, so we use the Solar Guard residential architectural film, it saves between 26 and 30% of energy in the building. So we're actually going to get a lot cooler, keeping the heat or the cold outside. Next, it allows natural light in the building. So like we talked about a few slides before, a lot of film has that same VLT, just like automotive. So you go 5%, 15%, 35%. We did the kegs and the Mandarin. So when we did the kegs, we did all the kegs across Ontario. We did a very light film on it. So we actually did a 35% VLT mirror film because the customers, when they're sitting in the lounge part, if you ever been to the keg for a meal, they have that really cool lounge. It actually affected the customers where they're very uncomfortable, but they still want that natural light. So we use a 35% VLT, visual light transmission, with the mirror look. So it blocked out the UV, but still allowed natural sunlight, which wasn't affecting the customers. Protects your decor. So this is the number one thing we get. So a lot of homes, especially Mississauga and the GTA, they have these wood floors. We've even seen it with houses with rugs. So when you have that UV that comes through the house, it actually warps those expensive hardwood floors. I've been in houses where they have no tint on the windows and the rug is actually burnt in the house. So you can see the outlines of where the sun and the UV comes through and it burns the actual rug. This is very common in a lot of homes. It's going to protect that decor. I've also seen where couches, just like the back of cars, are getting worn out and they're fading in color from that UV coming through the windows. So we do a lot of rooms that are sun facing just to block that UV so it protects the interior of the home. So you're not having the rugs fading, the hardwood floors fading, and the furniture being destroyed. Next, it provides UV protection, just like we talked about with every other aspect. UV is the bad stuff that can cause cancer and everything like that. It's going to damage your immune system, cause premature skin damaging. So this is going to help block and reflect that as well. Now, in flat glass, we always need to determine what kind of window for what kind of glass. And we'll talk about this in a couple more slides. So there's flat glass, there's safety laminated glass, there's obscure glass, annealed glass, tempered, tinted, insulated, and mirrored glass. So one thing we want to know is if you determine what type of glass we have, we want to look if there's low E coating. So if there's low E coating on glass, it's going to determine how we can actually tint those windows. Now, most windows out there in the home are actually glass low E coated. So we need to determine where that coating is on the glass. We have glass low E coating on windows that actually helps prevent UV from entering the house. So if we put film on windows that have this low E coating, it can either make it worse or not put that UV coating in there. So when discussing window film option with a property owner, we sometimes are unaware of the makeup of a particular window. The owner may think they have low E windows, but no paperwork confirmed that in fact. In the case of the use of a low E detector meter, is there a way to determine how it actually is? So a lot of guys will have a low E coating meter, which they can get on eBay, Amazon, all that kind of stuff. But we're going to show you a quick way to determine if it actually has low E coating on those windows. So here's a quick picture of the inside and the outside of a window. There's 4 surfaces. So starting from the outermost surface, or surface 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now this is a typical double pane window that we'll see with low E coating on it. So if you don't have a low E coating meter, we can do a quick test. I don't use a match. I actually just use a lighter or a Bic switch as well. So we can determine if this low E glass is on there. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold it close to the glass and look for 4 reflections. All glass will have 4 reflections. Now, when you're at home, do this tonight, do this tomorrow morning, see if your own windows have it so you can see what those 4 flames looks like. Of those 4 flames, one of the 4 should be slightly clear and a different color. This indicates the presence of low E. If you have those 4 flames and they're all the exact same, there's no low E coating on those windows. So we're going to hold that lighter up about a 45-degree angle against the glass, looking for those different flames. You can see that in this picture, if you want, we can email it to you guys afterwards. The one on phase 3 is a little bit lighter. That shows that there's low E coating on those windows. Now, if I have low E coating, can I put film onto those windows? Big thing is yes, but depends on what surface the low E coating is. If the low E coating is on the number 2 surface of a single pane unit or number 4 surface of a double pane unit window film, will negate the coating. So if the coating is, we'll go back up to this slide here, if it's here or if it's here, and I put window film over top of it, will actually negate the coating on there. With that, we talk a little bit more in our course about why that actually happens, but that's just to know what's going on. Now, once we determine what kind of window it is, if it has low E coating or not E coating, if it's single pane, double pane, or quadruple pane, now we need to figure out what type of film we can actually put on our customers' windows. Now we talked about there's different kinds of residential and commercial window film. We talked about the different percentages. We talked about the VLT. There's going to be ceramic window film, which is the most common because it's going to block that UV. There's be decorative film. Now we don't really use too much decorative film in our business personally because most of our customers want privacy and they want reduced energy bills, cooler homes, and UV protection. With decorative film, it provides only privacy. There's no UV protection, and there's typically no, you can't see out and doesn't let natural light in. Next one is a metallized window film. So thanks to material, they're mixed with metal. These are some of the longest lasting window films in the industry. It's perfect for anyone prioritizes durability and longevity. These will block some of the highest levels of UV. With metallized window films, they are typically a mirror film. So anything with window film on homes or commercial is going to be a mirror based film. So your typical customers, what we're going to look at is customers with new homes are our number one customers that are getting this, customers with kids, and do that want to kind of protect their homes and that kind of stuff as well. Next is going to be office building and restaurants. So a lot of times we do a ton of restaurants. It's a very easy way to make a lot of money with doing restaurants. They want to reduce their bills. They want a comfortable environment. They want to create privacy for their guests, and they want to block that the UV and that heat coming in the windows because it makes it very uncomfortable when you're eating a nice meal and food is going out. You don't want to sit in an uncomfortable environment eating your nice meal. So here's the big one. So we learned about low E glass coating. We learned about different reasons why people need residential window film or commercial film. Next thing is auto versus residential. Now, we see a lot of stuff on social media that people use the automotive film they have for their cars and they put it on house windows. This is the biggest no-no. We actually saw a Facebook thread as well that saying that you can put automotive window film even in a house if there's no direct sunlight. That is totally false. The biggest differences between automotive film and residential film is automotive absorbs heat, absorbs UV, where residential film reflects it. That's why it has that mirror look. If you put automotive film on houses, on office building, the likelihood of it cracking, breaking, or damaging the seals is very, very likely. It's happened to a lot of people I know because the film is absorbing the UV, it's absorbing the heat, which is going to cause the glass to shift, crack, and can pop the seals. You do not want to buy a customer brand new windows when you applied window tint on it. It's going to be a very, very costly mistake. Residential window film could actually be a lot cheaper depending on the kind of material you use. It ranges between $1.20 and $1.80 per square foot. Window film can go up to about $2 a square foot. So never put automotive on. Biggest reason why automotive absorbs, residential reflects. That's why it has that mirror look into it. Now, the difference between automotive and architectural or residential film, number one thing is auto absorbs, residential reflects. Designed to shrink, so the window tinting for cars is specifically designed to shrink around the curvature of the glass. The window film itself has an adhesive that will attach and hold fast to glass, will give it seamless, wrinkle-less, smooth look that is a mark of professional tinting. Architectural window film, on the other hand, will not shrink and does not normally need to because of the flat surface of the home or office windows. So next thing is that we talked about is reflective and absorption. With auto film, it is designed to shrink. With architectural window film, if you add a heat gun to it, it will burn it, it will damage it. You do not need to shrink flat glass film at all. And that's why this is such a much easier process because we're not doing the shrinking portion of the installation. We're straight cutting the exact portion of the windows, cleaning and prepping the windows, and installing onto the windows. So it's not meant for any kind of heat gun to be put up against this film. Next is absorbing versus reflecting in the sun. So like we talked about before, I kind of went ahead of myself there, but like we said, architectural tint by contrast is designed to reflect the sun's energy. By reflecting the energy, the sun's heat is stopped at the tint and the window does not get hot. So again, if I have that dual pane glass, which is two pieces of glass, there's actually a gas in between it. If I put automotive film on glass, I have that gas in between the window film or the window panes. It's going to warm up, get warm, and it's actually going to cause it to expand, shift, and crack. That's why we want a reflective on the windows. Now, with a decorative film, there's no properties, it's just straight about looks. So prevents no UV blockage. All it is straight privacy. So if I go for a frost or decorative film, which is common for people that want to totally block out their windows and just create that frosted look, it's the only film that's a little bit different that goes against what we're talking about here. So a little bit of the composition, the difference between auto and architectural residential tinting is the metallic materials. Adding metals to a window tint can greatly increase the color stability and heat rejection. The driver of a car utilizes a number of electronic gadgets, GPS systems, cell phones, satellite radio, etc., and surrounded by glass. According, car window tints cannot have metallic materials in because they will interfere with the electronics in the car. Now, depending on what kind of film you use, there are some older films that have metal base in it. A lot of the new ceramics and carbons don't have any kind of metal in it because, again, specifically with Tesla, specifically with any EV cars, if you have a car that's heavy with metals on the windows, it can affect the gadgets in the car. We actually tested this. So when I went and did the course up in Montreal, Quebec, we did it with Tesla. We practiced. We actually put an old cheap Gillian film that was a metal-based film on the windows, and we couldn't use the gadgets in the car, and the Tesla was actually malfunctioning. So specifically with Teslas, we only want to use a ceramic or carbon-based film, so it doesn't affect the car. With house windows, they last a little bit longer. So typically with automotive film, it's going to say about a 10-year mark. Like we talked about in the course, we talked about a lifetime warranty, which is about 7 years. Auto film is going to go about 10 to 15, or sorry, residential film will go about 10 to 15 years because it has that metal base in the film. Next, there's a composition, the difference between auto and residential. So just like automotive film, there's a release liner, there's an adhesive layer, there's a clear tinted polyester film, adhesive layer, and then there's a metallized layer for heat rejection on the clear polyester film. This is what gives it its reflective coating, so it reflects the actual film. I don't want to go too much into the composition of how the film is actually made up. More of it was to give you that idea of how film is different, how we're going to apply it differently, how to determine if the window is going to be a low E coating, and then also, more importantly, what to quote with the actual windows. Now, one thing that we talk about too is that window films, a lot of manufacturers say will void the warranty. That is the case in some films, but window films, if you use the proper film, like a residential or architectural film, it will not ruin the window. That is a huge misconception that a lot of manufacturers tend to say that it will ruin the actual windows, just because a lot of in the past people used the wrong type of film on windows, what actually did ruin it. So we're talking about a couple different paints. So first we talked about is the low E coating on the actual window film. So we have double and triple pane glass, which is a marvelous investment if you're looking for replacement windows because they are great at keeping the heat of the sun out of your home. Double pane windows are made up of two pieces of glass parallel. There's a small space between them, the sealed piece of glass. That space is usually filled with glass or gas. Sorry. A window made up of two steel pieces of glass with gas between them works to insulate the house quite nicely and effectively. So that's when we want to use that residential proper film. So one thing is too is plexiglass or plastic windows. So a lot of houses will have a plexiglass that we should not be able to tint. We'll see this a lot on boats as well, but that's for a different conversation. If you have plexiglass windows, you want to tint it, you can tint it, but I wouldn't give your customer more than a 1-year warranty. When I do boats and they have that plexiglass windows on them, they typically don't have glass. We only give our customer a maximum of a 1-year warranty because they will start to bubble. This will go the same with houses or offices that have that plexiglass as well. The reason why it bubbles so fast, doesn't matter what kind of film you use, whether it's automotive or residential, is because there's a gas in the actual plexiglass When it's heated up constantly by the sun, it emits a gas that actually breaks down the adhesive in the film, causes it to bubble. This usually typically, depending on how much sun the boat or the house gets, we typically see this happen 1 to 3 years. In Canada, it's more the latter 3 year mark, but we only ever give that customer a 1 year warranty. We've done this quite a few times on police cruisers in the back of the car. It's typically plexiglass when they put the criminals in the back of the car. When we've tinted them in the past, we only give them a 1 year warranty just in case it starts bubbling and all that kind of stuff. So, how can we tell if it's made out of plastic? Biggest thing is tap it with metal object. Plexiglass or plastic is softer than glass and will not resonate. If I tap glass, it's going to be a little bit harder and will have a resonation sound. Now, we're going to give you a quick, simple quote system. So, like what I talked about before, typical residential film is between $1.20 and $1.80 per square foot. When it comes to quoting, we want to do a simple quote system. Either your customer sends measurements. Typically, I go and measure first. This gives me the ability to check the actual windows, see if there's any cracks, see if there's any breaks in the windows, and I can actually do proper measurements. A lot of times, customers will give you inaccurate measurements, what actually makes your go off. It also gives me face-to-face time with that customer as well, where I can explain to them different kind of products. I can explain to them what kind of glass they have, and I get a better sell versus just texting them the quote. So now with that simple quote system, we always start with a $75 installation fee. This is the same as if you're doing cars. This is a mobile fee because you have to go there, you have to set up. You're going to look about a half hour before and a half hour after. So that covers your drive time, your setup fee, and all that kind of stuff. Now, when I made this, film was a little bit cheaper. We're looking at about $1.20. It's gone about $1.80 for most films that we use. We want to do a $8 to $10, $12 per square foot. I typically do about $12 per square foot. So the simple way to figure out your square footage is your length times your width in feet multiplied by the feet. So we do the number of windows times the height times the length times the price per square foot, starting about 12 feet plus your additional $75 fee. Now there is a height and safety or ladder fee. This is very common practice with any kind of business out there. You're going to have an additional $30 to a $45 or even up to $100 height and ladder fee. I've done skylights. I've done stuff where I needed scaffolding. If I've needed to apply scaffolding to the job, I usually mark it up about 20% of the installation of that scaffold or my rental fee of that scaffold, plus my number of windows times your height times your length times your price per square foot, plus your additional installation fee. So we want you guys to stick between the 10 to 12. If you're doing a lot of windows, sometimes we'll go around $8 per square foot. When you're measuring, we always want to round up. So if you have a window that is 2.5 feet by 4 feet, we want to go 3 feet. We want to always round up to the nearest foot. Now, with film, we always want to do height of largest window plus the total length, which will plus your 10% waste. So if I have multiple windows, I have one large window, two medium windows, and one small window. I take the height of my largest window plus um, all the length of it, and I add 10% waste of my square footage because there will be waste, there will be mistakes that we have. With this, we can order per job, which keeps our costs very, very low and allows us to get a 50% deposit that covers the cost of those materials, plus a little if the customer decides to cancel, no show, change their mind, anything like that. So, unlike with automotive film, that we can actually order per job, we're not carrying a ton of inventory around like we do with our automotive film. If you do want to get into residential window film, we have a company in Oakville that we work very closely with that gives you guys accounts if you have a business that you can order per square footage of your jobs. They will also give you a little book. So if you go do those quote systems, they will give you a book that's about 50 different kinds of window films, going from ceramic, going from reflective to decorative that you can show your customer. That gives your sales process a little more of a professional edge as well. Now that is our entire presentation. I know we didn't go too much into the actual installation. If you want to see some videos, we do have those, so send me a quick email. Again, we hope that you guys learned a little bit more. If there's stuff that you want to see on this webinars, shoot me a direct email. It's adam@tint.academy, which gives you, I'll give you some ideas of what we're going to do. Next week, we're going to be straight talking about business and how to make you guys busier. We had a couple of cool new techniques. Now, like we talked about, it is Christmas. We are getting to a slower week this week. If you haven't used auto gift cards, click the link. You can see a green button above. Click that link. You guys get a little bit of discount on those cards as well by clicking it. It's a very cool system. We will help you with those strategies as well to get you a lot more customers using these gift cards. Again, we want to hear from you guys. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email. It's adam@tint.academy. I hope everybody has a great Christmas next week. We will be doing a business one on Monday, Tuesday. So watch out for our social media and our emails coming through. Thanks, guys. Hey, Adam here from the Tint Academy. Normally what we do is window tinting on cars. Today we're actually going to do this house here. So this is actually a nursery, brand new baby. We're actually going to tint these windows. Now in 2023, 39% of our residential window film is actually in rooms just like this for kids under the age of 6. Now we're going to use a residential film which is going to block UV and have some privacy. If you see with this room here, you can see right directly to the road. So this room's going to get very, very hot quickly and we don't have a lot of privacy. So we were hired to come in here, block out the windows with our residential film. Now we cannot use auto film lens, we can only use residential or else it's actually going to crack this. If you want to learn more about the difference between residential and auto, there is a link below on our webinar talking about the two differences. Now a couple things here, very similar to auto, we're going to use our slip solution, which is just our 6 to 8 pumps of baby soap. We're going to first do our inside prep. So for my inside prep, I'm going to spray the window down. If you notice, I have everything covered so it doesn't get wet. Use my blade to make sure everything gets clean across the window. Now I should move this here, but it's actually bolted into the wall. I don't want to have to remove anything like that, so I'm not liable if anything were to happen. Now these windows are typically a lot dirtier than normal windows, so I want to go through this a couple times. Once I do my scrape, I'm going to spray it one more time, and I'm going to squeegee out all the way across coming through. Now my next step is I'm going to measure out the window and actually going to install my film, do my squeegee and my cutting. So now we measured out the piece. I applied a little of my slip solution. Now you can see there's a little bit of snow outside, so I actually went to just 6 pumps of baby soap so it doesn't slide too much and tacks up enough on the glass. I left a little bit of overhang on each piece here. So now I'm going to light spray. Without cutting anything, I'm actually doing my light squeegee on it. Now I peeled the backing sheet off already and I put the adhesive side towards the glass. There's no shrinking, there's no excess cutting on this. So I'm going to do a light squeegee across the top and then coming down the center. Then each side, I'm just going to come out and pushing all that excess slip solution across. Now I'm not going very hard at all. I'm just going enough so I can actually tack it onto the glass. Now I did my light squeegee, I'm going to go with my cuts. We're going to make 4 cuts on this. My first cut's always on the bottom, second cut on the top, then I can do my 2 sides. Now with my cutting, we can see we have a little bit of overlap here. So if you come a little bit closer, I make a cut across the top, then a cut here, just to split that off across here. Now when I'm doing my cutting here, I always want to start in my corner, working my way straight across. So in my corner, 1 blade off, coming straight across halfway. Once I reach that halfway point, coming across here, 1 blade off and coming straight across. Then I'm going to pull it away from the film. My next cut's going to be across the top. So across the top here, halfway, across this way, halfway, pull, pull. So bottom's done, top's done. Next one I'm going to do is my sides. So come down, across the side, and here, across the bottom. I'm going to pull this away. Now, a lot of you guys may have issue with cutting, so if you do have issues with cutting, I can take my Easy Reach tool, block it across, and come straight across. Then come across the top here. Then I'll pull this piece away. Now, once I got that, I'm gonna do my hard squeeze. This you need to do as hard as possible. So start at the top, using as much force to push out that excess slip solution. Top here, to the side, down the center, and push everything to the side. So that's how we tint a residential window. Now again, we did about a 15% on this, just so there's enough privacy that anybody walking across outside can't see it. It's gonna block the heat and create a lot of privacy and coolness in this room as well. So I hope you learned about that. Now we didn't talk too much about the film and all that kind of stuff, but we do have a link below that goes more in depth about what type of film, how to measure windows and all that kind of stuff. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned a few tips and techniques on residential window film.
It's caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the...
Adam here from the Tint Academy. We made the Tint Academy the largest education company for window tinters and PPF installers across Canada and the United States. One way we did that is by our unique model of a hands-on approach to teaching automotive window film. From step A to step Z, you're going to be able to learn how to tint any car, truck, or vehicle and make money leaving Sunday night into Monday morning after our course. This unique hands-on approach is not seen anywhere else. We go by step by step by step. Plus, we give you all the marketing and the tactics to make sure your schedule is filled once you leave this course.